The Yuba County 5. They went to a game, then vanished into the mountains. There are some mysteries where the ending gives you closure. This is not one of them. Because in February of 1978, 5 friends left a college basketball game in California and somehow ended up stranded deep in the freezing Sierra Nevada mountains. What happened next is one of the strangest disappearance cases in American history. And even now, decades later, the biggest question remains: why did they go up there in the first place? The 5 men were close friends from Yuba City, California. Their names were Jack Madruga, Bill Sterling, Ted Wire, Gary Mathias, and Jackie Hewitt. They all had mild intellectual disabilities or mental health struggles, but they lived mostly independent lives and shared one thing that bonded them deeply: basketball. Not just watching it, playing it. They were members of a local team called the Gateway Gators, a program for adults with developmental disabilities. And the next morning, they were supposed to play in the biggest game of their season. They had been talking about it for weeks. Their uniforms were laid out. Their families said they were excited. Some even went to bed early the night before to be ready. So on February 24th, 1978, the 5 friends drove 50 miles to Chico, California, to watch a college basketball game between UC Davis and Chico State. It was supposed to be a simple night out. Watch the game, drive home, get some sleep, win their own game the next day. That's it. But they never came home. At first, nobody panicked. Maybe they stopped for food. Maybe the car broke down. Maybe they stayed over somewhere. But by the next morning, their families knew something was terribly wrong. These men were creatures of habit, especially Jack Madruga. His mother said Jack was obsessive about routine. There was no chance he would willingly miss the basketball tournament. So police began searching the roads between Chico and Yuba City. And what they found made no sense. 2 days later, Jack's car, a 1969 Mercury Montego, was discovered abandoned on a remote mountain road near Oroville, high in the Sierra Nevada foothills. The location was shocking. It was 70 miles in the wrong direction. Instead of driving south toward home, they had gone northeast, climbing into isolated snow-covered mountains. The road was dangerous, steep, and at that time of year packed with snow. But the weirdest part? The car was perfectly functional. It wasn't crashed. It wasn't stuck. It still had enough gas. Police later determined it could have been driven away easily. The men had simply left it there and walked into the wilderness at night in freezing temperatures without proper winter clothes. No one could understand why. Then came the first truly chilling clue. A man named Joseph Shuns came forward. On the same night the 5 disappeared, he had suffered a mild heart attack while driving in that same mountain area. His car got stuck in the snow. While waiting for help, he said he saw headlights behind him. Then he saw what looked like a group of people, including one woman carrying a baby. He called out for help. The lights turned off, and whoever was there went silent. Then they disappeared into the darkness. At first, police weren't sure whether to trust Shun's story. He was in pain, freezing, and under extreme stress. But years later, many people wondered if what he saw really was the Yuba County 5. If so, it means they were alive in the mountains that night, and they may have ignored a man literally begging for help. Why? No one knows. For months, the snow made searching nearly impossible. Then, when spring arrived and the mountains began to thaw, search teams made a horrifying discovery. Deep in the forest, 19 miles from the abandoned car, they found a U.S. Forest Service trailer. Inside was the body of Ted Wire. But this is where the mystery turns disturbing. because Ted had not died immediately. Evidence showed he had survived for 8 to 13 weeks inside that trailer. Think about that. Weeks. Alone. In the freezing wilderness. Slowly starving. He had wrapped himself tightly in sheets and blankets. His beard had grown long. His feet were severely frostbitten. He had lost nearly half his body weight. But the most baffling part was sitting all around him. The trailer was stocked with food. Military sea rations, dehydrated meals, blankets, a propane tank, matches, warm clothing. Enough supplies to keep someone alive for months. Yet most of it had never been touched. The propane tank had never been turned on. The food locker had barely been opened. Warm clothes were left unused. It was as if whoever had made it to the trailer either didn't know how to use the supplies, or was too terrified to try. Nearby, searchers found the remains of Jackie Hewitt and Bill Sterling. They had died from exposure in the forest, apparently trying to reach the trailer but never making it. A few miles away, they found Jack Madruga's remains. His keys were missing, suggesting someone else may have taken them after his death. But the fifth man, Gary Mathias, was nowhere to be found. And that missing piece may be the strangest part of all. Gary was different from the others. He had served in the army. He was physically capable. He had survival experience. He also struggled with schizophrenia, but he was highly functional when taking his medication. And the truly eerie part? His tennis shoes were found inside the trailer. Ted was wearing Gary's shoes, which means Gary had reached the trailer alive, at least for a while. But then, he vanished. No body, no remains, no explanation, just gone. To this day, Gary Mathias has never been found. So what happened? Why would 5 men drive deep into the mountains in the opposite direction of home? Why abandon a working car? Why walk 19 miles through snow? Why ignore food, heat, and survival supplies? And where did Gary go? There are theories. Some believe Gary had a psychotic episode and convinced the others to follow him. Others think they may have been frightened by someone or something on the road and fled into the mountains. Some even believe they got lost while trying to help someone else. But no theory explains everything. Not the strange route, not the abandoned supplies, not the disappearance of Gary, not Joseph Shun's bizarre sighting in the darkness. And that's why the Yuba County Five remains one of the most haunting, unsolved mysteries in American history. Because this wasn't just a disappearance. It was a chain of decisions so irrational, so tragic, and so impossible to explain, that even investigators admitted they were left with more questions than answers. 5 men went to a basketball game. Only 4 were ever found. And the mountain has never given up the rest of its secrets.